When you're solo travelling, you're more open to meeting new people because you're kind of forced to.
Do you prefer travelling solo or with friends? Because you actually came out here with your uni friends, didn't you? Have you ever felt lonely?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Destination Happiness with me, Sophie. It's a lovely sunny morning in Australia today. I've woken up super early, even though I went to bed late last night after closing the bar. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing solo travelling and comparing that to travelling with your friends. I know it can kind of be a bit daunting at first to think about solo travelling, even more so if you haven't really left the country before, if you haven't really kind of gone out of your comfort zone yet. It can feel like a big leap and maybe sometimes too far out of reach. But I wanted to just discuss the benefits of solo travelling and sort of ease your mind for any concerns that you may have. I'm also going to be bringing some friends onto the podcast so you can kind of get their story behind solo travelling. Don't worry, you're not the only one who is anxious about the matter. My friends who I'm out here now travelling with were also in the exact same position, and so was I. So yeah, you can sort of listen to them, listen to their backstory and how things are working out now. Hear about the anxieties that they had and how they overcame them. So let's get into it. Solo travelling is about becoming more independent and learning about yourself, finding out what you like, what you don't like, who you are, etc. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're travelling alone. You could start your journey by yourself and meet people along the way. You sort of decide to travel with them. You're still travelling, but you're with a group of friends. The only kind of difference is you're not obligated to stay with them. They're not obligated to stay with you. You kind of form a team together and sort of like make a pact together. But each of you are strong individuals. You're not all travelling together and need to stay together. It's kind of like you all decided to stay together and you can all just veer off at any point. It's very free-spirited and you're constantly meeting new people. You can easily break away from the group if you wanted to, and there's sort of like a flow of friends. So you meet new people, then some of the people you were travelling with kind of veer off. But I think, yeah, it's a really good way of travelling and there are lots of benefits to it. Some common misconceptions about solo travelling. The first one is that you'll be lonely. Like I said just now, is you're always meeting new people, and if anything, I actually think you may even be less lonely. It's a balance trick, really. I think when you're solo travelling, you're more open to meeting new people because you're kind of forced to. Say you check into a hostel, for example, and make your way to the common area, you'll probably look at all the other people in the room and think, oh, okay, like, who do I want to be friends with? Whereas if you were with somebody, you wouldn't try to engage in conversation with other people because you think, right, I'm pretty comfortable with my person who I'm travelling with. And you're sort of not really forced to engage in those conversations with new people, and therefore you're not meeting new people. By being by yourself, it's kind of putting you in a position where you have to. If you are by yourself, maybe you haven't met people, then your friends and family are only ever a phone call away, and you can just give them a ring if you're feeling down, if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, and yeah, and you can just give them a ring and have a little chat with them. Okay, number 2 is travelling solo is unsafe. There are safety in numbers, however, there are many things that you can do to be safe while travelling alone, such as being vigilant, being constantly aware of your surroundings, not putting your headphones in when you're walking down the street, making sure that you're aware of what's going on around you. I know it's horrible to say, but not accepting drinks from strangers, not doing anything stupid pretty much, anything that you'd do at home. Yes, you're travelling, but you're not invincible. You still need to remember to keep yourself safe. Making friends and staying in groups. I know it kind of goes against the solo travelling element to it, but you're still solo travelling, you're just making friends and kind of keeping each other safe and looking out for one another. And you can also use the feature Find My Friends. I've added a few travelling friends on Find My Friends before, just as like backup really, just so that you know where each other are. And I think if anything was to go wrong, touch wood, then you've kind of got that extra safety net. Keeping your bag closed and tight to your body, not trusting strangers, and being so naive. You've kind of just got to remember that not everyone is a nice person in the world, so just be vigilant, like I said before. Another common misconception is that it's hard to make friends. You can meet so many different people in hostels, on tours, out and about. When I was in Italy, actually, on my very first solo trip, I was just having breakfast by the Trevi Fountain, and Italy, I don't think, is as, I don't know if friendly is the word, but it's just not so, I think, relaxed and common to be travelling and staying in hostels and stuff. I don't know, actually, maybe that was just my personal experience because I stayed in Airbnbs and hotels. But while I was having breakfast, I was sat next to these people, and they got chatting with me because they saw that I was by myself. And I was kind of telling them that I was here in Italy by myself. I think it was also my first morning as well, and I was excited and just travelling alone. And we exchanged details. These people were from the US military, so they were really fun people. And later on, we went out together. It was like a group of us, and they're really bubbly, really like happy people. I met up with their other friends too, and we had a great night. We had a couple of drinks. I didn't have too much because obviously I need to be aware of my surroundings. We were drinking on this rooftop bar in the middle of Rome together, and then we ended up gate crashing someone's birthday party. I don't know, it was just like an interesting night. And I think if I was having breakfast with someone else, and if I had been travelling with a companion rather than being by myself and solo travelling, then that would have never have happened. I would have never have met those friends from the US military. And then later on that night, we ended up at a karaoke bar singing country songs from Texas. Like, it was a crazy turn of events, and I think, to be honest, that was probably my first ever experience solo travelling and making friends. You've got to remember as well that other people are also solo travelling, and they're wanting to make friends too. So knowing that you're in the same boat as other people, it can be quite reassuring that they're also looking for people to connect with. There are many benefits to travelling solo. You definitely learn more about yourself. A few friends that I've spoken with have said the same thing. You kind of think, alright, there's no actual expectation of me here. Back at home, among my friends and the people who know me, people have this perception of me, and I'm kind of expected to live up to that perception. However, here in this brand new place, nobody knows who I am, so I could be whoever I want to be. And you sort of veer out of the normal person you are. Maybe if you're not so confident, you might find some confidence somewhere. And you kind of just try out different things that perhaps you wouldn't do at home, and find out what you do like, find out what you don't like, and sort of think, oh, okay, well, I've never, I don't know, for example, pottery. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. And then say you try out a pottery class, which you would never do at home because your friends might be like, why are you doing pottery? And then you could potentially realise, wow, I am a passionate potterer. Passionate, I don't know if that's a word. Potterist? Anyway, Harry Potter. And then you've just found out a new thing that you like, and you would have never done that at home. You have to try these things in order to decide whether you like them or not. And I think especially when you're young, and actually through your whole life probably, you should always try new things because you never know what you do and don't like. You need to sort of do it to put it in the yes or the no box. Does that make sense? Another benefit to solo travelling is just the amount of friends you make. I have more travel friends now than I do home friends, which I think is incredible, because I think back at home I did have like a good few friends. I'm a bit of a social butterfly, so I don't really have like a friendship group, but I have friends in Cornwall, in Oxford, like in my hometown where I'm from, and like all different places, and that's great. But when you're traveling, you kind of make deeper connections with people. I think I said it in my previous episode about Dame Traveller, what she said when you go solo traveling, or just traveling in general, actually. It doesn't need to be solo, but she said you learn this new language, and it's not Portuguese, it's not Cantonese or Mandarin or French. It's the language of understanding what it's like to step out of your comfort zone and try new things. And I think potentially your friends back at home, if they've not really done this sort of thing before, then they don't speak that language, and it's sort of like a different type of connection that you have with these new people, and you may even have a better friendship with them than the people you do at home. Another benefit to solo travelling is you become more independent, and it increases your confidence. You sort of have to realise that when you're away, you can't rely on anyone. You are the only person you can rely on. If I need to book a flight to Hong Kong, for example, then I need to book it. I can't ask my friends to book it. I can't ask XYZ to book it, or my dad. You have to book this yourself. Not that I would ask my dad to book me a flight anyway, but you know what I mean. Or another example is, say you have booked to go to Hanoi in Vietnam, and you're looking at hostels, and the hostel that you want is fully booked. You have to overcome that problem, okay? So am I going to book a different hostel? Am I going to go there on a different day so that I can stay at the same hostel? What are my friends doing? I don't know, you just have to sort of like do all this problem solving yourself, which is incredible, and it makes you become a stronger person and builds your resilience up for the future, so that when the next problem comes around, you're fully equipped for that. Another great thing I love about solo travelling is you're free to do whatever you want. It's not really permission that you need to ask. It's sort of like, I don't know how to put it. If you're travelling with a friend and you want to wake up early and go to the Blue Mountains from Sydney, for example, you sort of need to discuss that with the person you're travelling with. Like, do you want to do that too, or do you want to do something else? And yeah, I guess you can go off and do your own things. If you wanted to do the Blue Mountains and they wanted to go to Bondi, for example, then you can do that. But if you're travelling by yourself, you really don't need to. You can just do whatever you want to do. You don't need to worry about any conflicts that may arise. You don't need to worry about, are they going to get upset if I go off without them, kind of thing, because there's no obligation, and you really do not have to answer to anyone. You just do you. I think for me personally, this may not apply to everyone, but I've found that solo travelling can help manage depression, anxiety and stress. I spoke about it really in my first episode when I talked about the low point I was in before I went solo travelling, and how I didn't really plan on solo travelling. It kind of just happened because I wanted to go away and none of my friends could come with me, so I decided to go myself. I went to Italy real sad, but kind of open to new things. I was literally willing to do anything because I just wanted the pain to go away. And I came back a completely different person as the one I went there as. I don't know exactly the reason why, but it could potentially be a shift in perspective of the world. There's so many other people out there, and there's so many people to meet. For me, it's kind of what helps me overcome those negative feelings. Maybe because just going away and travelling, it makes you happy anyway, so it kind of just, I guess, takes your mind off of those things, and then eventually you kind of just forget about what you were sad about. Travelling with friends then, I mean, obviously I've got to talk about the benefits to this. There's always somebody by your side. When I say that solo travelling can sometimes get a bit lonely. There are times when you kind of just wish that there was someone else with you, kind of sort of like a home comfort, if you will. They're kind of a constant there. You know that you can always turn to them if you're sad or anxious about things, and it's nice to sort of have that companionship together and be there for one another when times get tough, and lean on each other when one person's not feeling so great or the other person feels like they can take the mother role. You can solve your problems together too. Say, for example, if you're trying to get to the airport and you're in the middle of nowhere where there's no taxis and no buses, which is actually the situation I'm in now, then you guys can figure that problem out together and you're in the same boat. If you're wondering what country to go to next, then you can figure it out together. There's this togetherness and companionship that you have, which is, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing too. Well, not necessarily bad, but doesn't quite push you out of your comfort zone as much as solo travelling does. But this companionship can be lovely, and even sometimes when I'm solo travelling and I'm having a not so happy day, and I see people that are travelling with friends, and I sort of think, oh, like, I kind of do wish I had that. I wish I had someone there by my side as a constant, especially if you're in a place and you haven't really made friends yet, or you don't feel as close and connected to the people that you're around, then it can be warming. There are safety in numbers, and if there's someone constantly looking out for you and always making sure you're okay, making sure, is Sophie still here? Has she got home okay? And if you're doing the same for one another, then it can be reassuring and it can be safer. Not to say that it's unsafe solo travelling, but there's always that one person looking out for you. However, you do have to think about, what if you guys fall out? What if you decide that you want to do something else and you don't want to be with that person anymore, or vice versa? Then you do have to think about those things. But I guess it is a conversation that you have together, maybe beforehand, like, we can do this together, and then if we decide we want to go off, then fine. Sometimes it's just bicker about the small things, like, I like a warm environment, and my friends who I live with at the moment like the aircon on full blast, and I'm freezing cold wearing a jumper in the summer in Australia. It's just small things like that, but do you know what? It's all part of the fun, and it's like kind of a sisterhood, if you will. I just wanted to catch up with my new friend Alex, just to kind of get an idea of what solo travelling is about and share some insider stories about solo travelling, and kind of just talk about those issues and worries that you get while solo travelling. So, welcome Alex.
Thank you.
So the first question is, what have you loved most about solo travelling?
I think there's a lot of freedom with solo travelling. Like, you kind of just have to worry about what you're doing, like where you're going next. But
Yeah.
like, the amount of freedom kind of sums it up. It's like quite nice.
Yeah, because I guess if you're with someone, then you kind of have to think, oh, what do you want to do today? And like make a compromise.
Exactly.
And work out what both of you want to do. Whereas if it's just you, if you want to get up at like 3 AM and go for a hike, well, maybe not exactly that. But
yeah, you don't have to kind of like ask, not for permission, but you can kind of just do it without having to like second think it, like, oh, what if my friend doesn't want to do that, you know?
Yeah, you just have to worry about someone else's feelings and worry about what someone else wants to do, and just like be mindful of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, the freedom of it for sure. What were you most worried about before you solo travelled?
In my case, I think it was just like, how was I going to meet people?
Yeah.
And like whether we'd actually, you know, click or get on. But I get on with like most people, so I feel like that was fine. It was just like, how was I going to meet them?
I think that's an issue for most people, like worried about, am I going to make friends? Like, where am I going to meet people? What if I don't meet anyone? And there's all these questions that run through their mind, like, what if this, what if that, what if I'm lonely? But I think the truth of it is, you're probably more likely to meet people when you're solo travelling. Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I do fully agree with that. Like, it does push you out of your comfort zone, because if you're with somebody, you kind of like, not hiding behind them, but you can do if you wanted to, and you don't actually have to meet other people if there's 2 or 3 of you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on your own, you kind of like, there's no choice unless you do literally just want to like do your own thing completely on your own, but a lot of people obviously want to meet others so that they can travel together.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when I went travelling with Ashley round, like the first time round, I could probably count on my finger or my hands how many people I met.
Yeah.
Whereas this time round, I think now like the majority of my friends are from travelling. Someone that I've like met in a hostel in the bathroom brushing our teeth together.
Exactly.
Or I don't know.
The most random area.
Yeah, literally, it's just such random places.
Yeah.
And because you're not with someone else, you're more open to saying, oh hey, how are you?
Exactly.
And like making friends.
Like,
and
where
so
are you from? It's always, where are you from?
Yeah, it is, isn't
where
it?
are you going next?
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
So do you prefer travelling solo or with friends? Because you actually came out here with your uni friends, didn't you?
Yeah, I came out with 2 uni friends.
Yeah.
And initially, because I'd never really even been out of Europe, it was quite nice to like have a bit of a transition into it. So I don't think originally I would have come out on my own because I'd never done anything like that before. However, they both left Vietnam when we were all together and they went home and I went to Australia. And by then I think I'd gained a lot of confidence because I'd been on like you know, tours and stuff, like day trips on my own and met people there. So I thought, oh well, if I just go to a different country, it's going to be kind of going to be the same thing. Yeah. But like just in a different setting, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, so if you're kind of eased into it, so you're at home and then you came out travelling with friends.
Yeah.
So travelling together. And then they left, so then you were solo travelling. So you'd already gotten used to the travelling side of things with someone.
Exactly.
And then it was just the solo part that you had to get used to next.
Exactly.
Would you recommend that?
I would, yeah. I mean, obviously that's not probably feasible for most people because once they do start travelling with somebody, I don't know, you either go in your own directions, but like realistically you're probably going to stay together throughout the whole time. So like maybe it is sometimes better to just bite the bullet and go yourself. There's no point waiting around for people if you actually do just want to go and see places, you know, around the world.
Yeah,
because you could be waiting forever.
Yeah, because some people at home are like, oh yeah, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that. But 9 times out of 10, they don't do it. How many times have you made plans in the group chat and it never leaves the group chat?
Exactly.
And how do you expect people to come travelling with you around Southeast Asia or Australia or wherever when you can't even plan a girls' holiday?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could be waiting for years and then by that point there's no, like, maybe you don't want to do it anymore. So I think if you're thinking of planning on going travelling, then just bite the bullet and go for it, because you will make friends, like there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure.
If you stay in hostels and stuff anyway.
I think a lot of people, I think there's a common misconception about hostels, that they're not very nice places, they're run down. If you stay there, all your stuff will get stolen, and they're not like ideal places to stay. And I think people glorify hotels and Airbnbs more. What's your opinion on that?
I think if you're with people, then you could stay in like hotels and Airbnbs, but that's what me and my friends did, and then we barely met anybody else. Which is a big part of travelling. Like, obviously it's to see the places, but it's also to meet people. And if you're only seeing the places, then you're not like getting your whole experience. So I do honestly think the majority of hostels that I stayed at as well, they were like really nice and they were like really upkept and clean, to be honest. Sometimes cleaner than hotels.
There are like a selected few hostels that maybe aren't the best, but you can always do your research in advance.
Exactly.
Find recommendations from other travellers that have already been there.
Yeah, for sure.
And just go there for the people, really, and the social side of things. Yeah, fair enough, maybe if you don't want to cook in a hostel kitchen, that's fine.
Oh yeah. But then again, like, I feel like it's very different depending on where you are. Like in Southeast Asia, you'll probably think as well the hostels are a lot more upkept and they are a lot nicer than the ones in Australia.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is.
I don't know. I think maybe because Australia's just so expensive.
Yeah.
And Southeast Asia is just so naturally beautiful that they don't really need to put much effort into making it nice. Yeah. Because it's just a nice place anyway.
That's true.
You could just build something and put a few plants in there and it's stunning. And then in Australia, I feel like you'd need to, from a business perspective, you need to do a lot to make it as spectacular as a hostel in Southeast Asia.
Definitely. Yeah. They do just seem a lot, I don't know, like cleaner, and everyone seems to, well, in all hostels that I've found, everyone's quite friendly, but especially in Asia, everyone seems to be like really up for going out and like meeting other people, and in Australia they tend to do their own things a little bit more, but still.
Okay. In hindsight, you said that you were happy that you kind of travelled with friends and then went on to solo travelling. In hindsight, do you think you would do that again, or would you just go straight to solo travelling?
It's a hard one because I've obviously got really close to the two people that I did go travelling with now, originally. So I have made
experience. Sorry, it's an individual experience that you had together, and they're the only people that you can share that with fully.
Exactly, which was really nice. But it was quite a blessing that we all wanted to go at the same time. Whereas, like, I feel like in reality, a lot of people don't want to go travelling at exactly the same time. So if I was to recommend it to anyone, I would just say just go on your own, and you'll meet so many people.
Yeah.
So many more on your own.
I guess as well, if you are talking with a friend about travelling together but maybe not at the same time, I guess it's something to look forward to as well, that you're going to go out and then meet up in a few months' time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's probably a better idea, like if you go separately and then you can kind of meet in the middle, I suppose.
What do you think's been the most difficult part about travelling solo?
I think because you are that's really hard. I don't know. I feel like
it's not that hard, is it? Solo travelling's easy.
Yeah, it's hard to say really. I think you do then, like sometimes when you're like lying on the beach or whatever, you are like, oh, like I actually don't know these people. Like it's when you like really deep it, you think, oh, I am actually still on my own, even though I know like I've met these people, like I don't fully know them.
You don't fully know them, and if you were to like, if you were to need something, then yeah, you can ask them for help, but you can't rely on other people.
No,
you have to rely on yourself.
Yeah, which is fine. Like I feel like you're putting yourself in that position anyway, aren't you? But
yeah, and it's all about growing as a person, like yourself, and becoming more confident. And then say you are in a position where you need help and you can't really rely on anyone else, you just rely on yourself more, and that's part of growing as a character.
I think it is definitely like massive character building, going on your own, and it is daunting, but like I think it's so worth it, and you do learn a lot about yourself when you're on your own. So yeah,
for sure. Have you ever felt lonely since solo travelling?
Not now, because I've made so many like good friends that I don't feel like I'm on my own really. But initially, yeah, for a few days when you first do it, you are a bit like, oh wow, like I don't know, I am got on my own, like especially at night and stuff, you know. But other than that, not really now.
No, I think there's a fine line, or not fine. I think there's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Definitely, yeah. Like you can feel homesick, and then maybe that makes you feel a bit lonely. I don't know, but no, I feel like I'm always constantly surrounded by people. So maybe at home I'd feel more lonely. I don't know.
Yeah, and your friends are only ever a phone call away.
Exactly.
Or your family. I mean, despite the time difference, maybe when you're ready to call, it's like 5 AM there, and you're like, oh, better not.
Yeah, that is true. Like pick up the phone, Mum. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't feel lonely now, not really.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say to give people advice about solo travelling?
I'm just going to say, if you're thinking about doing it, then go for it, because when are you going to get this opportunity again? And like, if you let it pass by, then you're just going to probably never do it, to be honest. Like if you overthink it, so don't overthink it and just go for it, because like it's actually probably one of the best things I've done. So yeah,
just take the leap.
Just go for it.
Okay, thanks so much, Alex. I hope you found that insightful, speaking with Alex and getting her side of things in terms of solo travelling. In my next episode, I'm going to be interviewing my good friend Rosie, who I currently live with, and we've been friends for a year now. We met each other in Bali. When she went travelling, Rosie embarked on her journey with her boyfriend at the time, and since being away, they've unfortunately broken up. So I'm going to be talking to Rosie to see what it's like going through a breakup while on the other side of the world. I'm also going to be talking with her about her itinerary. She's been to Bali, she's been to Fiji, she's been to the Cook Islands, New Zealand, Philippines, Australia, and more.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, please, please, please give me 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening on, as it helps boost engagement so that more people can get advice around travelling. Thank you, and I will see you on the next episode.